You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Gulnara Samoilova is a fine art and street photographer based in New York City and the founder of the popular @Women Street Photographers Instagram feed. She's also the editor of a new book of the same name from Prestel Press. It's a beautiful book, which we'll be discussing further in the second half of the show. The book, which is chock full of wonderful street photography from around the world, has a foreword written by Amy Vitale, a former guest of the show. Welcome, Gulnara.
Hi, how are you doing?
We're doing great. It's so good to have you here. Today, we plan on speaking about street photography and about Gulnara's own work, for which we have many reasons to celebrate. Her photographs have garnered numerous accolades, including a prize from the World Press Photo Competition. Her photographs are in the collections of the Museum of the City of New York, the New York Historical Society, the 9/11 Memorial Museum, as well as the private collections of Elton John and others. Before moving to New York City in 1992, Gulnara was the only female fine art photographer in the autonomous Republic of Bashkortostan, which is not many people could claim. And that's where she was born, in Ufa, the capital. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure.
Let's start with a general question. Is street photography an intrinsically urban exercise, or could you do it outside of cities? How would you define it?
Well, I personally, how do I define? I think it's unplanned photos taken in public places. To me, street photography is fun. It's something that I do to relax, and it doesn't have to be in the big cities. It could be anywhere.
I guess one of the reasons I'm asking is that from looking at your work on your website and everything else, you are very good in urban environments. I mean, you're shooting in streets around where B&H is located. I recognize the streets. I could even tell you what month the pictures were taken and based on the shadows. I mean, I was really connecting with that. But you also take really, really powerful photographs, equally powerful photographs, out in the countryside, back where you're from your home country, in remote locations that are the polar opposite of Fifth Avenue and 38th Street. Yet they have the same feel about it. And that's why I'm kind of curious. Do you have a different way of working or feeling or intuition when you're shooting in Midtown or in the middle of nowhere?
Well, I don't really think about the areas where I go and shoot. I always follow my emotional state, and I'm just looking for a photograph that is make me happy, And in New York, I to tell the truth, I couldn't even photograph in New York for the longest time because it felt like home, So it's been maybe, 7 or so years only when I just opened my eyes and could see in New York. I was really, really enjoyed. I'm still enjoy traveling, and that's what excites me. Different cultures. In Bashkortostan, I wasn't. I left in 1992, but then I didn't go back for many, many years until a few years ago. And I went back there, and it was very interesting experience because I could see everything with a foreigner eye per se. I'm from there, but I could see differently, and I was reintroduced to my own culture. I was born Tatar, and I could see beautiful, costumes and beautiful nature, which I couldn't see when I was living there.
your work in New York and your work in Cuba, for example, there are differences, and the Cuban stuff, it's more intimate. You see more street portraiture, so you don't feel that. I mean, is it just kind of you opening yourself to the environment and letting the environment speak to you in that sense? Because even the style is different. You know what I mean, compared to the New York stuff. Or was that a conscious decision, I guess, going in?
Well, Cuba is very interesting. Cuba was the first country I visited when I decided that I want to focus on street photography solely. And I've never been to Cuba, and just was very refreshing to see people just, without phones, and just go about their lives, and the colors and openness of the people. And I did a lot of experimenting there. So I was approaching people and overcoming my own fears. That's where I learned how to approach people, because they were just super friendly. And I don't speak Spanish, but I would approach a group of people or a couple, and I would just stay there and photograph, like without even talking to them. I would make a communication with my eyes or hand gestures. And that's how I learn how I can communicate with people without spoken language.
It's an amazing thing to communicate with people when you don't have a common tongue. And it's amazing how much you really can communicate with people. It's, again, just facial expressions and just certain words and things of that sort. Do you prefer working that way as opposed to speaking the native tongue and actually be able to communicate with people? Does it give a little extra bit of magic to your work, you think?
Yeah, that's what I prefer. I don't really like to talk to people when I'm taking pictures.
That's why you're a photographer.
I mean, I like talking to people, but when I'm taking photographs, in my opinion, like if I approach someone and I say something, it begs a response, and it begs like the rejection. So I am very friendly when I'm on the street. So I smile. I dress accordingly. I carry a very small camera. I don't want to look professional.
Wow.
And people respond to me in a friendly way. And when I say, and then it gives me time to work on my photograph. I don't want to just take a quick photo of somebody. I want to make a photograph. I want to work on my composition. If the person or people letting me with their, if they smile back or if they nod, I work. I take pictures from different angles, and I always make eye contact with that person.
You create a collaboration with your subject.
It's a silent collaboration until they say, okay, it's enough, or stop, or, and at the end, I always thank them for their time.
In your website, Gulnara, you said that you photograph your subjects. You make no secret of your intentions. I mean, how do you do that? Is this what you're describing now with the smiles and the?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And do you ever talk about, or if people ask you what are the photos for, do you have an answer, or does it depend on the project, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I talk to people at the end if they ask me, and usually that happens if I say something. Like if I say, okay, thank you so much for your time, they're like, okay, what is it for?
And do you say it's
so?
For,
yes, of course.
I'm kind of curious.
It depends. I say, you got to be very genuine in your answer. So whatever is attracted to you to that person. So it could be, their eyes, or outfit, or it could be anything. Just reply back what attracted you to, or to what compelled you to take pictures of them.
No, I appreciate that. I think that's a good way to do it, as opposed to saying, well, it's for this or such and such. Can I ask a little bit about how you hold your camera? Maybe what camera you use? Do you have a prime lens? You said you like to keep things small. Is it always hanging? Do you have it hanging around your neck so people see you coming up that you're a photographer? Is that how you work?
Oh yes, so that's another thing that yes, I have a very small Fuji XT2 and XT3, and I used to photograph before the pandemic. I used to photograph solely with the equivalent to 28 millimeter lens. And it depends on where I am actually. If I'm in New York, I just have my camera hanging around my neck. If I am in another country, I have it wrapped around my hand. But when I'm approaching someone, my camera is always next to my face. So people know that there's a person approaching them with the camera. She might take a picture. So I make them aware of me as a photographer, and letting them mentally prepare that I might take a picture.
You're letting them know that you're not sneaking up on them. I think it's pretty interesting.
Exactly.
I think most people try to look real, they sort of crawl around a little bit, looking over their shoulder, giving sideways glances, and you could see that the camera's in the hand and everything. So that's a nice, honest move, and I think that has to definitely give whoever your subject is a little more confidence and trust in you for sure.
But
yeah, and that's what makes people angry. Like when you sneak on them, and when you take a picture and then you pretend you didn't take a picture, and that's when they're running after you and yelling.
Does that. No, nobody would ever do that.
Well, but can I ask though? I mean, there is that moment when they recognize the camera that what you were originally attracted to sometimes disappears. Right? I mean, it's that interaction with the camera you might not have wanted.
No, but the thing is that I approach and whatever attracted me, it might not be there, but I stay there long enough where they relax and just go with their, own life, whatever they were doing, they continue doing it. So that moment, if you're patient enough, it will appear in front of you again. And that's when I say that, when you mentioned before that I make no secret of my intention. So I am honest with my subject, and I stay there long enough to make my photograph.
Interesting. I have a question about the hand coloring of your photo, which I really like. I think it really works. When I first saw mention of hand coloring, I had the more traditional hand coloring in mind.
I'm not coloring my black and white pictures to make them spot colors. I mean, I personally am against that.
Oh no, it's very different. It's a whole different thing. Sure.
This is something. The reason. First of all, I started doing this in back in the 80s. When I was in Russia, and I was just a traditional photographer. And then when I saw in Moscow, I saw huge exhibition by Gilbert and George where they paint their pictures. And it was just, for me, it was an aha moment where I was like, oh my God, I can do anything with my photographs. I can express my way through adding my written messages on photographs, or paint on them. And it gave me a permission to do anything with my photographs. And that's when I start expressing my frustration with AIDS at the time, or pollution. But I restarted hand painting my photographs when I attended Marilyn Marks' workshop, and I showed her those work, and she. After the workshop, she sent me a letter where she said that, and I quote, "You owe it to yourself to produce your own personal body of work." So yeah, that's what I started doing. I went through my family albums, which I haven't touched, and it's just this series just. And I formed that series, and I started painting my photographs that I took various years, and then adding collages from my family photos. So I was creating my own fantasy family albums.
You know, when looking at your hand-colored photographs with the little floral patterns on it, it reminded me very strongly. There's a guy who I see on eBay once in a while, and he gets these old Russian cameras and he hand paints them in with porcelain enamel with a lot of these same kind of like little motifs of flowers. It's very, very reminiscent. I guess it's sort of a cultural thing, but he does cameras that way, old Russian cameras. And he charges a couple $100, but they're beautiful. They're like little pieces of artwork, and they're supposedly also working cameras. I haven't had the courage to buy one yet, but they're beautiful to look at. On that note.
But the reason I paint flowers, because my name, it means bloom of pomegranate, and my mother's name was Rose.
Oh.
So that's why I paint a lot of flowers. It's in my collages.
Oh, okay.
I love the photos
That's
of your
great.
mother in those series. They're so powerful.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and we come back more with Gulnara and speaking about her book, Women Street Photographers. Stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. The best way to support the show is by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For links to gear and more information on today's guests, check out the show notes in your podcast app or visit our homepage on the B&H Explorer website and join the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. And now, back to the show.
Okay, we are back. Today's episode is the last of March, which is the International Women's Month. So it's somewhat fitting that we are celebrating this wonderful book, Women Street Photographers. And the book is such an international assemblage of women photographers. It's a fantastic book. Can you tell us about how this book came to be and, you know, the relationship between the book and your Instagram feed, which is really where it all started, if I'm not mistaken, right?
After launching Women Street Photographers Instagram feed in late 2017 as a platform to support women artists, it's just inspired me then create a website and an annual exhibition, which started in 2018. And since then I curated, I think 13 exhibitions around the world. So originally I wanted to create exhibition catalogs or self-published book. And I was developing this idea when Anna Godfrey, editor at Prestel, approached me and asked me if I was interested in creating a book.
Did they come to you with the idea that it would be kind of as it is with, you know, one photographer, one image, and then to the next, and with, you know, somewhat kind of mimicking the an idea of an Instagram feed, I think, to some degree. I don't know if you felt that way.
It was more mimicking exhibitions. So when I do an exhibition in New York every year, I also collect background stories from each photographer about their photographs, you know, what they felt, what compelled them to take a photo. And I found those stories are just really, really interesting. And myself as a photographer, I love reading background stories. And that's what I want. I want this book to be simple, yet powerful. And that's why I wanted to give entire spread to one photographer. So they photograph, speak by itself and their caption.
And
are all the photos were originally on the feed, on the Instagram feed?
So I started, I selected about 250 photographers who I already showcased over, a bunch of exhibitions and Instagram feed. So what I did, I made 4x6 proof prints and I put them on a white wall. And then I paired them. So I was thinking about sequencing the book like I do sequence exhibitions. To me, it was not only about a powerful photograph, but also a book as a whole, a body of work. that it tells the story, collective story. So I paired those proof prints, and then I just moved them around on the wall to sequence. And then, so after that, I edited it down to 100 artists, which Anna Godfrey, she suggested, look, yeah, let's keep it to 100, which I agreed. And so we selected 100 artists from 31 countries. And they're all working in a wide range of styles, both traditional and experimental.
What was your thought process in terms of, the many types of things that can be street photography?
When I was doing my research for Instagram and exhibitions, I was struck by different types of genres within street photography, which was such a revelation to me because I was trained in more like a classical way. But I was just really inspired by women who pushed, so to say, street photography button, creating like abstract and or like blurry images. I really appreciate this kind of photography.
I like how you kind of push the envelope on street photography in there. I mean, there are things that are, arguably, I mean, not that we need to define it so much. I'm particularly thinking about this photo by Deb Atchek, I think is her name, taken from the ocean of swimmers and people on the rocks. And there was another one of people at a swimming pool. And I like that comment of Laura Reed is her name, the photographer. It said, if it's in public, then it's street photography. So I assume you agree with that.
I like people to see that street photography can happen anywhere. It doesn't have to be on a concrete street or in a big city, and my interest is to not to define street photography, but to expand it,
Maybe we should stop calling it street photography and just call it life photography.
Yeah, you can call it anything you want.
I mean, seriously, if you think it's really, that's what it is. It's that's really what it is. It's people going about their lives and you're capturing moments of it. And sometimes it's, your photograph, the way you captured is making a statement that might be totally ridiculous. Okay. Or it could really be something that actually happened, that you captured a true moment and it's obvious what was going on, but it's just moments of life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and then there's this whole thing of, is it documentary, and where do you draw the lines? And it's in a really kind of endless debate, I suppose, but I like that.
Well, let's not stick to it because it'll just narrow down the kind of shows we could have. If there's only one topic of photography, we're skunked. Let's keep as many different types of photography going as possible.
I like how you included, women who are professional photographers and more established, and then those who seem to be non-professionals or people who maybe it's just kind of a side hobby, and the work they created is just as interesting, needless to say. And I think it goes with what you're both saying about this is life photography.
Yeah, because the women that represented in the book, they range from like their 20s to 70s, and some take photography later in life after they had careers and families, and others, like me, who started as teens and have dedicated their lives to photography. So it's, I also wanted to show work of women from different cultures. There are 34 nationalities represented in the book.
It's a real great looking book to see. It's a very pretty book to see. I love the cover photo. It's attractive. It has humor.
I want to give Shaz Madani, who designed this book. I mean, it's just, she's brilliant. And we wanted this book to be accessible to, not just art lovers, but to anyone. It's a simple yet so powerful.
How about women who might be out here listening to this that want to get, their books in the volume 2 or their photos in volume 2 of the book or onto the feed? Is that how they go about it? Do they just contact you through Instagram or how does that work?
The best way to push yourself, not just to be, part of the book, but just to be part of the larger community is to send your photos to exhibition calls. And that's how I collected majority of women photographers for this book. So exhibitions are the best way. They can use a hashtag Women Street Photographers.
And when you say exhibitions, you mean the ones that you organize as well as just
any.
general,
I organize about 4 or 5 exhibitions a year. I mean, right now there's an exhibition call for our first virtual exhibition. And then there's a hashtag WSP book where the winner will get a signed book from me and also be a part of the exhibition.
So Gulnara, can I just ask, like, what's, you wear a lot of hats. You're an editor, a curator, a publisher, obviously you're doing all this stuff, and a photographer. So, how easily can you go back and forth? And do they easily kind of feed one another? Do you feel it's all part of one big world, or does one kind of keep you from doing the other, or make you see things differently?
My friends know me. I can multitask. So, if I have a project in mind, and that's what I focus on one thing. But with women street photographers, yes, it's kind of interconnecting. The women street photographers exhibitions and artist residency, which I'm most excited. The inspirational films that Ximena Chagwe, another photographer who we're working together, and all those projects are have the same goal to elevate voice of other women photographers, to give them exposure that I personally would like to have for myself. When I for the past 40 years I've been doing this.
We've been talking now for over an hour now, and we, of course, as always, we could just keep going on. If people want to catch up on your work, websites, Instagram, where can people go to see more of your work?
My work they can see on my personal Instagram account, which is at Gulnara_NYC, or website, gulnara.com. And they can see work by all these amazing women street photographers at Women Street Photographers, and a website, womenstreetphotographers.com.
Okay, that's good. And by the way, all of this will be in our show notes, and it's well worth looking at. It's really good stuff. Gulnara's work is wonderful, and the photographs in the book and on the website, on the Instagram account for Women Street Photographers is absolutely wonderful. There's some phenomenal, exciting work there. It really, really is. And it's worth taking time to visit these sites. And again, thank you so much for joining us today at Gulnara.
Thank you. And thank you. I love B&H. I've been shopping there since 1992 when it was a tiny, tiny, tiny small on 14th Street.
So you found it the first year you arrived in New York, eh? And
yes.
Was it like,
course.
Yeah, I
had to go to, every time like I needed film, you couldn't just hang out in the store. You had to like shout from the street, I need 10 rolls of Triax 400. You
remember the days of the film lines? I mean, I just,
yes.
It's such a thing of the past, but the line up to buy, your brick of film or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, that was a great show. Terrific having you with us today, Gulnara. We hope to have you back again sometime. If you enjoy listening to the B&H Photography Podcast, the best way to return the love is by subscribing to our show. All you have to do is go to Spotify or wherever you snag your favorite podcast and type in B&H Photography Podcast, hit enter, and boom, you are one of the family. And if you're already a subscriber, leave a nice comment. The suits upstairs love reading this stuff. You can also find us on the B&H Explorer website and on the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group page. All that said, for now and forever, my name is Alan White, and on behalf of John Harris and Jason Tables, thank you so much for tuning in today.